Grace and peace, beloved of God. This is Apostle Cheryl L. Richardson. I am here. We're going to try to go live on 2 different platforms at the same time. I'm going to set it up on Facebook Live. You probably get a better view if you head over to the Lion of Judah Global Impact Ministries Facebook page. But again, I am Apostle Cheryl Richardson, and I am grateful for what the Lord is doing, and I am appreciative of the grace that He has bestowed upon us, and humbled by the mandate that He's given us regarding this topic, domestic violence. It's something that is very near to the Lord's heart, because it's not His desire that any of us would be mistreated or abused, denigrated, that our purpose and our destiny would be torpedoed by the enemy. And that's essentially what happens when domestic violence is reigning. It's an epidemic, as you've heard me say repeatedly, even in the church. There are some reports that indicate that the instance and the rate of domestic violence is even higher in Christian homes than it is in homes of non-believers. And that is incredibly saddening, that those that name the name of Christ would have this behavior be so dominant in their homes. And so one of the things that I want to address as an apostle in the Lord's church is this: we cannot, regardless of our faith, we cannot gain dominion over any spirit, any demonic activity that we are partaking in, that we are privy to. All right. And so when we are guilty of exhibiting these behaviors and living this lifestyle and being abusive to those around us, whether it's an intimate relationship or not, we cannot gain dominion over it in the realm of the spirit. You cannot be subject to it and gain dominion over it at the same time. And so a large part of the problem in the church, all right, and a whole lot of people they're not going to be happy to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A large part of the problem in the church is that there's no accountability from the pulpit to the door regarding how we're interacting with others, how we're treating them, or mistreating them, for that matter, okay? And so God is not pleased with that. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Cassie. You all share, because, I don't remember to say share. But this is something that the Lord has impressed upon my heart that we must address. And the only way to really address it is to raise awareness. And that means to do what we're all called to do, especially if you're a believer, and that is to cry aloud and to spare not. Hey, Roger. Oh, thank you. Make sure you share. Share. So last week we had Lisa Alexander on, in the week prior, and she is the CEO of Stand Up Survivor. And at the time that we went on the air, I think we had like 1,000 views. Well, after we got off, we had over 6,000 views, and we're approaching 7,000 views of last week's broadcast. And so what's exciting about that is many of our views are from around the world. Most of them are from other countries. So I need for you guys to share so that we can get our head out of wherever we have crammed it over here in the United States, because we have a tremendous problem here. It's not only in South Africa. It's not only in Ghana. It's not only in Kenya and Pakistan, which many of our viewers are from other countries. And so we thank God, because that's confirmation for us of the global mandate that we have regarding this topic. Domestic violence, as you've heard me say, is an epidemic worldwide. And we cannot just relegate it to third world countries, and we cannot relegate it to culture or a specific religion, because we all have an issue with it, okay? And we are passionate about stopping this. So many people reach out to us on a daily basis with photographs and just the horrific things that they have experienced. I'm an apostle in the Lord's church, right? You know that. I grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia. I'm a survivor of domestic violence myself as an adult, and lived through it in childhood. And I'm a career mental health professional. I'm a military veteran. So that lets you know that no one is immune. It doesn't matter how educated you are. It doesn't matter how black you are, how white you are, how red you are, how brown you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who your parents are, what status you have in life, how many alphabets you have behind your name. None of that makes any difference. Domestic violence absolutely does not discriminate. Does not discriminate. And so last week we talked about safety planning because it's critically important. And the week before that, we just did an overview of domestic violence, but there's so much here. There's so much that we need to know if we're going to be more effective. And so the rhetorical question that I'm throwing out to you, thank you for sharing. The rhetorical question that I'm throwing out to you is, are you doing everything that you can do to stop domestic violence? Hey, Deontay, are you doing everything that you can do to stop domestic violence? Honestly. Are you? Are you? Because 1 in 3 women in her lifetime is going to experience it. 1 in 7 or so men experience it. So women are not the only victims. And children are like collateral damage. If any of the grown people are engaging in that behavior around them, they are impacted regardless. So it's a mess. And we need to get a handle on it. We need to get a handle on it because it just transfers. If you want to view it from a spiritual standpoint, you create this generational curse that just continues and continues and continues and continues. Primarily because it's being fed, primarily because it's not being stopped. Okay? I believe that if you starve anything, it'll die. You just have to outlast it. You just have to outlast it. You just have to purpose in your heart, this is not how my story is going to end. You just have to be determined that that's not going to be your testimony. All right? And I'm sitting here as a living witness that that's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible. Now, prevention is a whole lot better than trying to recoil from this thing after you step in it. You know, the example that I gave last week was just like stepping in dog poop. That's not a very romantic example. And I use that example for all of the reasons that just popped into your head when I said it. It smells bad. You can't get rid of it. You step in it. You scrub it. It doesn't make any difference. You sit the shoes outside, right? For a little while to let them air. You bring them back in. Still smell like dog poop. You scrub them with bleach or whatever. Still smell like dog poop. You have to get rid of the shoes. Because whether it's imaginary or real, there's this scent of dog poop, right? That is attached to those shoes now. So you step in dog poop, stand in it long enough, you have to get rid of the shoes. There's no getting around it. Either that or you adapt to the smell of poop, right? In your life. So one of the things that we touched on last week that I really want to revisit is that the longer you stay in a situation, right, that is unhealthy, as long as you are affected by domestic violence, the longer you stay, the sicker you become. I'm going to say it again. The longer you stay, the sicker you become. There's no other way to stay. You can't stay healthy. You cannot be healthy and stay. Okay? You cannot stay in it and remain healthy yourself. So if you're in it, right, and you're thinking this person is crazy, this person is sick, this person has issues, guess who else has issues? Because you're still there. Okay? Now, we made a point last week. Let me adjust this. We made a point last week, and I feel very strongly about this, that the worst thing that we can say to a survivor is, you ought to just leave. And there's no way I'd put up with that. And that and you don't deserve that. Now, some of that is true. But no, they shouldn't just leave. 75% of the domestic violence cases, they intensify as the victim is leaving. Like physically leaving, I'm leaving now, bye. No, you're not. So now, and then it escalates into aggression and anger, murder, suicide, kidnapping, okay, whatever it takes to stop the abuse victim from leaving. So that's horrible advice. And church folk, I can talk about us because I am one, okay? Church folk especially will say, you just need to get out of there. It's either get out of there. It's one extreme or the other with us. It's either get out of there or it's, well, just pray, believe God. You know what God has joined together. That part. He didn't. If you getting beat down, he didn't join it together. He did not. That was your handiwork. And we need to not blame that on God. He did not do that. And please don't use the example of Gomer and Hosea in the Bible because you're misappropriating scripture. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Okay? Now, it's important that we understand that domestic violence is not just at the point that someone gets punched upside the head. All right? Typically, it will start with verbal abuse. And a lot of times it'll start off with verbal abuse that kind of sounds like, hey, Vic, that kind of sounds like they're joking. You know, they're playing hee-hee. They throw a little chuckle behind it. But what they said was mean and nasty. So an abuser will often start off calling you out of your name. When you become an inanimate object, you're on the downward slope at that point. Okay? They will joke with you in ways that aren't funny or humiliate you in front of people. Anytime there's a celebration, birthday, Christmas, it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to upstage you and become the center of attention and cause a ruckus. That's what they're going to do. Be uncomfortable about you being too close to certain people. True story. I'm a therapist. Okay? My abuser was tripping about me seeing male patients. Hello? I'm a therapist. Not really interested in being involved with a patient. Just saying. Okay? But completely irrational about these things. Really don't want you close to anybody. And wants you to believe that the only person that cares about you is them. And that, in fact, is the person who cares about you the least. Okay? So we said we're going to talk about flying monkeys because one of the ways that we contribute to domestic violence, maintaining the hold that it has on people, is what we do and what we fail to do when we're confronted with these situations. Okay? So let's go back to being kids for just a minute. The Wizard of Oz, right? In The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West, this is where the terminology came from. Had these creatures, these monkeys that had these huge wings, right? And they could fly long distances. And depending on which version you look at, you had 3 opportunities and they had to do whatever you told them to do if you got a hold of this golden cap. Okay. So they were assigned to the Wicked Witch of the West, right? And she sent them on this mission to destroy Oz and the wizard and all of that. So a flying monkey is a minion for the abuser when it's used in terms of domestic violence. So the question is, hey Rosalind, the question is, are you a flying monkey? Are you a flying monkey? See, a lot of times people will say, well, the flying monkey is the abuser's mother or sister or brother or cousin. You know, Ray Ray and them, that they played in the sandbox with. I'm here to let you know today that a flying monkey can be your pastor. Somebody type that. A flying monkey can be your pastor. A flying monkey can be your therapist. A flying monkey can be your best friend. Their best friend, their mama, their daddy, your daddy. All of these people can be a flying monkey because what they do is the bidding of the abuser, and oftentimes they don't even realize they're being played. So this is what an abuser will do. And I want you to listen from both sides. Listen as though you want to be able to identify someone who's engaging in this behavior, and listen to check yourself to see if you have in fact been a flying monkey. And if you have been, you know, stop. Just stop. Stop it. Okay? And if you can fix it, fix it. Because it's very disheartening. It's disheartening for an abuse victim. First of all, it's hard to admit that you've been duped, right? And it's hard to believe that the person that you thought you loved and was going to have a future with and all of that is just getting ready to take you down this rabbit hole from which there is no escape, apparently. Okay? It's hard to admit all of that, even to yourself, much less to somebody else. And if you have a position in church, if you are the evangelist of the universe and the apostle to the nations, and you a global prophet and everybody knows you and you got 10,000 followers on Facebook and you got Pinterest and you have Instagram, it's even more difficult to admit that you've been duped. It's more difficult. You already don't have anybody to talk to right now. Who are you going to talk to with all your degrees, all your alphabets, and all your accomplishments, and all your status, right? And leaping tall buildings in a single bound. Who are you going to tell that you getting clocked upside your head after the benediction? Who are you going to tell? Who are you going to tell? Especially after you got all over Facebook, right? You got all over Facebook, and you know, we done seen everything. We've seen the proposal. We've seen the acceptance. We've seen the bachelor party. We've seen the bachelorette party. We've seen the gown. We've seen all of this. And you're getting wore out at home. Who are you going to tell? So it creates because we're so public, it makes it even more difficult, right? Because now everybody knows you're supposed to be this happy, especially if you attach some scripture to it. If you credited God with your union, hey Sandy, if you credited God with that union, and now you're getting your eyes blacked, what if they're the ones that just delivered that powerful message and people accepted Jesus? What if that's them? And then they cuss you out in the car. Okay? Some folk get cussed out on the way to church. On the way to church. And everything you see in church is an act. It's an act. But what are they going to do? They can't really go to the altar about that. Who they going to tell? And if they go to the altar, they're probably going to really catch it after the benediction. So it's a catch-22. So a flying monkey, all right? A flying monkey is someone who is a minion, okay, of the abuser. Sometimes they don't realize it. Sometimes they are gullible. They just gullible people. You know how some people just see roses everywhere? You know, it's cacti, but they calling them, oh, it's beautiful. Okay. All right. If you grab it the wrong way, it's going to hurt you. Okay. But every cloud has a silver lining, and they got scripture for it and all that. Okay. So it challenges their core belief, right? To accept that someone is capable of cursing you out after they just delivered such a powerful message. Or is capable of locking you in the room and not letting you out. Threatening to kill your family, right? Pulling a gun on you and clicking it. Playing Russian roulette with you. It's hard for them to believe that this person. So surely you must be the problem. And they need for you to be the problem because their worldview can't be the problem. Was that clear? They need for you to be wrong. Because if you're not wrong, then they were wrong about that person. They need for you to be wrong. So they're not going to listen to you. And what they'll do is they'll discourage you. And if they're a good Christian or a good spiritual person, then they'll find some scripture, something nice and fluffy for you. Something that rebukes you and admonishes you. Okay? And they're going to speak the truth in love. They're going to say it right. It's just going to be all the wrong thing that comes out their mouth, okay? They're going to encourage you to forgive. And they'll say something like, well, you know, they have a lot of stress on the job. Well, have you talked to them about it? Well, you know, their mom or dad had a bad temper. Just be a little patient. You should just put it on the altar. Hey, Susan, you should put it on the, pray about it. You should cover. Now, y'all want my jaws to get tight. Use this one. You should cover them. Love covers a multitude of faults. That is not what Jesus meant. Okay? And we need to stop. We need to cut it out. We holding people hostage with stuff that's not even in the Word of God. We need to stop. Okay. So, I want you to consider this. That the flying monkeys, right? And I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure that I touch on everything that's in my spirit to touch on tonight. They are the narcissist enablers, right? And I've already said they can be friends, family, they can be neighbors, pastors, it can be your therapist. See, here's the thing. We expect the abuser's mama, right, to be on their side. We're not shocked by that unless we really thought we had this amazing relationship and you know, we down like 4 flat tires. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's possible that she can be reasonable. But 90% of the time, at the end of the day, if we're talking about her child doing time, if he busts you upside your head or not, she's going to probably be on his side. And if she's not on his side, in the beginning, just give her time. Let the sentence that he or she is facing be great enough and see whose side she flips to then. So not always, because now I know this is one person right here. I have the ability, I can step outside of my emotion and my relationship with you and everything else and look at the facts. That's it. It drives people crazy, but it's It's how I survived in the environment that I grew up in. I had to be able to step outside of what I was feeling and be rational so I could stay alive. Literally. Okay? So just know that we can have unrealistic expectations that keep us in harm's way. And we've got to be able to accept what the truth is. The truth is, if you are in a relationship in which you are being mistreated, whether it is sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, digital abuse, you know, they got GPS on your laptop and you don't even know it. Every time you hit a key, they know that too, right? All of that is abusive. Threatening your pets. Veiled threats about harming your family if you tell anybody, right? Hey, Roz, all of that is abuse. And some people don't even know that they're being abused. Some people don't even know that they're being abused. It's all they've ever known. They've come to accept it. They're being abused and they don't even realize it. They don't even realize it. And so that's why we're on here every week. That's why we're crying aloud and sparing loud. If people want us to, we're not, because there is too much. It's too much going on. People being held hostage in their own homes, locked in the bedroom and can't come out. They cooked the dinner but can't eat the dinner. You burnt the egg, so now I'm going to black your eye. You didn't make my sandwich. This is the wife, so now I'm going to punch you in the face. And if you call the police, I'm going to tell them you hit me. And they're going to probably believe me. Okay? We're gonna do another live about how men are victims also. I mean, it's a hot mess, y'all. We got to do something about this. We cannot say that God is all powerful and he's got all power in his hands and then live the way we are living. It's a travesty. The things that we allow to exist around us, the things that should repulse us. But we've got to be able to address it in a manner that uses wisdom, okay? And I'm challenging you, hi Jerry, I'm challenging you that it starts with introspection. It starts with introspection. So if you know someone, right, who is dealing with abuse or who says they are, first of all, if they say they are, believe them. The next thing you need to do, though, is pay attention for like evidence of that. Is there bruising? What kinds of things are they saying? What is the abuser's demeanor? You don't dismiss it. You don't dismiss it. One of the things that can happen, some of the fallout from being an abuse victim is this. Say you're this mild-mannered, whatever. You're catching it at home. This could be male or female. You're catching it at home. You're catching it at home. At some point, you get triggered to a point where now your response is equally as abusive. You feel like, I need to defend myself. I'm not going to let you talk to me that way. What you're doing, though, is you're walking into the enemy's trap at that point. What he wants is for you to demonstrate behavior that is completely out of character for you, whoever this is for. It's a trap. If he or she can get you to respond in a way that's contrary to your character or your own core values, you're going to have a problem with you when it's over. You're going to have a problem with you when the dust settles this time, because it'll get kicked back up again. But in the meantime, now you like yourself a little less. You respect yourself a little less, right? Because you feel like you need to fight fire with fire. Well, the Bible tells us that's not how you win. That's not how you do it, all right? And my military training tells me to prepare for my most stringent tasking. And I will never forget, in the middle of, it was a crazy conversation. The conversation was crazy, right? And I couldn't understand how every conversation ended up in this crazy place. It didn't matter what we started off talking about. It would end up in crazy land somehow. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I got tired. I got tired of going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, I need to step back. God, what is this? And then I realized, see, once you recognize what the trap is, you can avoid it, right? You can navigate it without compromising who you are as a person or conducting yourself in such a way that you are disrespecting even yourself and your own core values. And so in the middle of a crazy conversation, I realized it always starts off with a seemingly innocent question. Always, right? Now, why is that significant? It's significant for me because I'm a therapist, right? I'm an apostle. I'm a minister. All those things require that I, use my voice. So you try to entice me to use what God has given me in a negative way, in a way that doesn't honor him. And in the middle of one of them crazy conversations, I don't even know what the conversation was about because it was that nonsensical. It was like ding, 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 ding. I'm just being transparent because I'm trying to help somebody. In the middle, like his lips were still moving, right? It just dropped in my spirit and I had this epiphany. You know what? The Lord is waiting for me to consult him about what to do with you. That's what's going on here. And this will continue until I walk this thing out the right way. I've got to walk it out the right way. That means that my response cannot be anything that dishonors God. That means you just talked about my mama. Now I'm cussing you out and talking about your mama. Okay. How good am I going to feel about myself and how powerful, okay, am I going to feel about myself if I just behave that way? And that's not who I normally am. And I've given control to the abuser, right? So, you want to be able to recognize what the signals are. So after I figured out that it started off, hey, prophetess, when I figured out that it started off with a seemingly innocent question, man, I can't even tell you how many skirmishes that I was able to navigate without having my peace disturbed. Because I got nothing. You got a simple question, I got nothing. I'm not doing that with you today. I'm not doing that with you today, and this is not going to be how my story ends. And that's a guarantee. And I'm not catching the case. I'm not cussing you out. None of that's going to happen. None of that. And all of this is going to stop. Once we understand from a spiritual standpoint who we are and whose we are. But the thing is, I can't act like I belong to that other entity and now I'm asking God to help me. And he's like, well, you honoring that other critter all the rest of the time, cussing and throwing glasses and breaking dishes and all that. So you want to hold on to yourself. You don't want to engage in any behavior that's going to cause you to lose respect for yourself. The abuser's ultimate goal is to grind you to powder. Grind you to powder, discard you, and go find another supply. That's it. Male or female, it's all about what I can get from you. And you only have value as long as there's something for me to get. Okay? So, one of the things that we need to be able to do is to recognize if we're in a situation like that, how am I playing into it? Okay? You don't want to dishonor God. Don't do that. You need him on your side. Do not dishonor God. That might mean you just got cussed out and just don't say nothing. Because if you say something, it's just going to escalate things anyway, right? What you need is a safety plan. Someone comes to me, I'm not going to say, listen, you better get out, you better listen. Because depending on how crazy he or she is, you need a plan. You need a plan. You need a plan. Okay? You have to have a safety plan. Please, please, please. If you're in a situation right now and it escalates to the point where your life is in danger and you just have to go right now without a plan, then, of course, go without a plan. But I'm saying if you're in a situation like that and you keep tuning into these lives, you're going to recognize that you're in one. Because we're going to talk about the things that give you a clear indication that you are. One of the offshoots of being in a situation like this is you are isolated 9 times out of 10. Slowly over time, you can't talk to people past a certain time. You can only talk for 10 or 15 minutes when you do talk to them, right? You can't tell nobody. What happens in the house stays in the house. That's something that black folk, we got that bad. And that's how we stay in torment and bound up too. Because we won't tell nobody what's actually going on. People can't help you if they don't know. Stop expecting everybody to be a prophet and see into your house and into your heart and into your life. We have to be actively involved in our own deliverance, people. We have to be actively involved in our own deliverance. God can blow the gate wide open. If we sit in there, we're going to still be in there. Okay? This is how people who kidnap folk and keep them for years and years and years, after a while, they don't even have to chain them. They threaten them, grind them down, abuse them, mistreat them. They don't have the time up. They're not leaving. They are petrified of leaving. They don't believe they can leave and be okay. So the longer we stay in it, the worse it gets. The longer we stay in it, hey Pam, the worse it gets. Okay? So number one, you don't want to violate your own core values. If you do, you are playing into the enemy's hands. If you say, well, I'm going to just speak up for myself, don't be cussing folk out and throwing play. It's just, and what the abuser learns, whether it's a male or a female, what they learn is this. If I push that button, I get that response. And I know when they're thinking clearly, I know how they feel about that behavior. So then listen, if I'm the abuser, after I get you to cuss me out, then I can throw up in your face that you cuss me out. Now I can tell your mama and the church mother and the pastor and the bishop that you cussed me out. You, the prophet, evangelist, apostle, cussed me out. And what are you going to do when they ask you about it? You going to lie and say you didn't cuss them out? You understand what I'm saying? So the best way around it is to not be guilty of what they're saying. And don't isolate yourself. There are groups on Facebook. Some are better than others. You know, some of them, people are like, oh, kill them, shoot them. No, that's bad advice, bad advice. Orange is not the new black, and that is bad advice, okay? But there are some that are really, really good. And we're going to be launching one on June 1st. And you all, and I told y'all there's a contest going on, and I need a name for this private Facebook group. It's going to be faith-based, so if you're not faith-based and you find that offensive, then you don't want to join. I'm just letting you know that right now. Because everything comes back to faith for me, and everything comes back to my relationship with Christ for me. That's what has sustained me and kept me sane, arguably. Okay, there would be some people who would tease me and say, no, I'm not, but I say I am. And able to look back over what I've experienced and pull lessons that will keep you alive, literally, if you listen. If you listen, okay? So we need a name for the group, and the contest ends on the 18th. And we need a name. We're going to launch on the 1st. Okay? So, any questions about what a flying monkey is or who it can be? For those of you who have just come on, please share. But for those of you who have just come on, a flying monkey can be people that we don't even consider. Right? It can be the pastor. It can be your own therapist. It can be your own therapist. How many people have gone to a therapist? Maybe they're not seasoned therapists. Maybe they're not a good therapist. I mean, the fact that somebody has a license doesn't mean that they're good at what they do. It doesn't mean that they have discernment. It means they passed their test, okay? It means that they inhaled some information and they were able to regurgitate it when it was time. That's really what it means. It should attest to skill set, but it doesn't always. It attests to what they ought to be able to do. Okay, but much of this, if you're going to be effective as a therapist, comes with experience. And some people are the people that you dealt with before you had experience and you didn't really know what you were doing. Okay, so it can be the therapist, it can be the pastor, it can be the church mother, it can be the deacon, it can be your best friend, it can be their best friend, their mother. The list is endless. It's endless. But they tend to be either they're invested in making sure that the abuser is not viewed as abusive, which means it has to be your fault. It has to be that you provoked them somehow. You did something that you shouldn't have done. And maybe you did do something that you shouldn't have done. But nobody deserves to be mistreated, regardless of what they just did, right? So that doesn't make it right. You know, as the old folk used to say, 2 wrongs don't make a right. So there's that. Then there's the ones that have the rose-colored glasses on, and there's good in everybody. Okay, let me just make a public service announcement. No, there is not. And the Bible declares that we all come here jacked up. I'm paraphrasing. So how we flip that around, everybody's got good in them, is beyond me. Everybody's got a destiny and a purpose that God has mapped out for them if they choose to take that up and walk in it. But he's not going to make them. We don't all have good in us. Would somebody please type that? We do not all have good in us. And please, 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 please stop trying to navigate life believing that, because it's not true. All right. What the narcissists oftentimes do is they will recruit supporters. And this is what they do. Real slick with it. This is what they do. And if you're in a situation like this, think about it. And if you know someone who's in a situation like this, think about it. Their partner, their spouse, whether it's male or female, are perfect gentlemen, perfect lady, sweet, kind, engaged, concerned about people, raising money for the children in Africa so they can have water, and campaigning for the homeless, and they volunteer for Special Olympics and all this other stuff, right? So they do all these things. And then when you get home, you catch HE double hockey sticks from this same person, the philanthropist, the one who loves children or loves animals or loves old people, okay? And they treat you horribly when you get home. So because what you're saying doesn't match what they see, and if it's further complicated by, let's just say you went to church, but before you went to church, you had the usual verbal abuse, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you got slapped around, maybe whatever. You get to church, you have this wonderful service. They deliver a powerful sermon or whatever, right? And your mood is off. You're snappy. You're not responding in a way that honors God. You're displaying behavior that's contrary or not normal. You see where this is going? Now you look like the crazy one. I'm going to just let that sink in. But they can only make you look crazy if you allow yourself to get pulled out of character when you respond. I'm telling you what I learned the hard. You don't have to go through what I went through to figure this out, because I'm telling you, this is for free. Free, okay? Do not violate your own core beliefs regardless. Don't cuss folk out. You don't talk that way. Don't be hitting folk. Don't do it, because you give them ammunition, right? And the people who need to believe that they're innocent, you've now provided them with evidence that you're the problem. Okay? If you're in a situation and you need to go and you have a safety plan, if you subscribe to any of the sites that we have, you automatically get emailed a guideline for a safety plan to help you to think of things that you need to have in place before you try to exit. Do not make a public service announcement, even in anger. I'm not putting up with this. I'm leaving. That is the worst thing that you can do. You've just increased the chance that you might not live to get out the door. Okay? And it doesn't have to happen in the heat of an argument. Because once you get a narcissist, an abusive person, once you get them to thinking that you have found your sea legs, right? And you're getting ready to go, hey Wayne, that you're ready to jet and get out of there. Now they're thinking about how to prevent that. They're thinking, how can I prevent this person, my possession, because this is no longer a human being to me. This is my possession. This is where I get my fuel supply. Okay, how can I prevent them? Because I'm not going to lose. Again, it's not about you at all. It's not about you at all. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not about you at all. They could care less. What they need is they need to be able to pull from you, drain everything that's good and positive from you, and feed off of that is what they need. Okay? And if you leave and you have a plan and you get out safely, you know what they'll do? They'll find somebody else. And you'll want to tell them, and they won't believe you, because that's how it goes. All right? And I challenge you, think back now. Did anybody, if you were ever involved in an abusive relationship, did anybody ever wave a red flag and say, are you sure about that? Did you have any misgivings? Did they love bomb you? Because that's pretty effective when they do that. You know what love bombing is? Who knows what love bombing is? Who knows what love bombing is? Love bombing is when they come on like gangbusters and sweep you off your feet, right? You got 10 kids and they love all of them, just like it's theirs. And they're buying you flowers, and they're buying you candy, and they're buying you cologne, and they're calling you every 5 minutes and paying attention to you. And your ex never did, so it feels great, right? And it feels flattering, and it feels, like you matter to somebody. It's too much. It's too much. They won't give you time to think. They don't want you to know who they really are. And here's the kicker. They can't pretend for that long, okay? They can't. They can't pretend for that long. They cannot. So they need for you to hurry up and take the bait. That's the motivation for the rush. They don't want you to have time to think about it. Let's run off and get married. Let's not. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's see if I even like you a month from now. 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 4 months from now, okay? And we will use a scripture. Once God shows you, then listen, there ain't no expiration date on it. If God has sent someone into your life, there's no work. They're not going anywhere because there's nowhere they're supposed to be with you. It's not going to work nowhere else. So calm down. Do not fall for that. They call you every 10 minutes and it feels flattering, right? It feels flattering at first. And then after a while, it feels like someone's sucking the oxygen out of the room. Anybody have any questions? So are you a flying monkey? Are you the person that when someone comes to you and says, she did this to me, or he did that to me, you say, oh no, they couldn't have done that. Not so-and-so. Well, what did you do to provoke them? Well, maybe we should just pray about it. Where the Bible says if someone does something, you should go to them. And if they don't hear you, you should take somebody else. In a situation like this, you might get somebody killed. If I'm abusing you, how am I going to feel about you bringing somebody to talk to me? Let me just say this. You cannot counsel that demon. And I'm a therapist. I'm a good one. You cannot counsel that demon. That devil will say whatever it need to say to get you off of its back. It'll take your little exams and your quizzes, right? It'll answer your questions. It will grudgingly attend your counseling sessions, okay? And the victim's going to catch it when they get home. Count on it. And they're not going to tell you because look what happened the last time they told you. Okay? Look what happened the last time they told you. Last time they told you, you talked to them. That's all wrong. It's all wrong. And it's very arrogant, I think, because what do I look like counseling someone who's threatening you and sending you back home with them? Like, what if I'm wrong? What if that was bad advice? I'm not in danger. You're in danger. And I feel like I don't have a right to do that. I don't have a right to do that, and I don't have a right to tell you that you better leave. I can tell you that if you are in a situation where you are experiencing domestic violence, I'm telling you the fact that he or she hasn't hit you yet is a moot point. You hang around long enough and they will. Okay? So there's a certain escalation. And again, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is, what your title is, what you've accomplished in life, how many businesses you've started, how the people love you all over the world, how God has sent you to the nations. None of that matters. None of that matters if you are submitting to that spirit in your day-to-day life. In your day-to-day life. Okay? And it's a travesty because it happens so much. It happens so much even within the church. I think it was in South Carolina. The early part of the year. There was a pastor that a call went out that his house was on fire. When the first responders get there, he shoots himself. He kills himself while his wife and daughter are he's in the house with them. The house is burning down. Okay, number one, who does not try to exit a burning building? Who just sits in there? Unless you said it. Why did you kill yourself? What happened before that? And if you were to visit this man's Facebook page, always smiling, always an encouraging word, he's a community activist, and all of that. His wife and daughter are dead. He pastored a church. Okay? I talked about the case that really, really inspired me to start doing something about this. Karen Smith, who was the teacher, a special ed teacher who was shot and killed in front of her special ed students by her estranged husband, right? They'd been married 3 or 4 months and they were already separated. Excuse my French. What kind of hell do you think she was experiencing to separate within 4 months of saying I do? Who does that? You know what I'm saying? So it had to be bad. It had to be bad. She was a Christian. She was devoted. She loved children. Everybody loved her. She loved music. She was active in her local church. And he shot and killed her in front of her students and killed one of the students. Shot two of them. One of them died. 8-year-old boy. Okay? My point is, she had a pastor. She had a church. My point is, in the other example that I gave you, he was the pastor. He was the pastor. No one's exempt. No one is exempt. Okay? We've got to starve this thing out, and we have to expose it because it thrives in darkness. It thrives in darkness. All right? And people need a safe place that they can go and say, okay, I know that was a powerful sermon, but this is what happens after I get home. And it needs to not become a topic of gossip. Okay? Because some of us just talk too much. Some of us just talk too much. Y'all don't know what I know. Okay? Just pray I don't ever get no truth serum. I know so much stuff and I'll never say it out loud. Because I will not betray a confidence. Period. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. And you try to get me to do it, I'm going to hurt your feelings. Because I'm not doing that. People have to have a safe place to go. Right? And so, especially those of us who are the household of faith, we ought to be that safe place. It is inconceivable to me that someone can sit next to us in church every Sunday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, come to the potlucks and all of that, and they are trapped in hell, right? And nobody knows it. With all this discernment everybody claim they have, could nobody see that? Nobody sensed that something was wrong? And if they did, they didn't pursue it. All right? And so I'm asking God to help all of us, myself included, to even be more sensitive to what's going on around me with the people connected to me, the people that just pass through my life. Because you never know what people are actually dealing with and what they're going through. Okay? I want to thank Kelly for putting the numbers up for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. I've asked her to provide some information. Cassie said, rather kill you than blow his cover. That's right. That's why I say, I'm going to tell your mama, stop. You do not tell your enemy, because that's who that is. You don't tell them what your plan is. You don't do that. Don't do that. Right? Now, why do I push having a safety plan even if you plan to stay? The average woman leaves 7+ times before she makes it permanent. My concern as a therapist, my concern as an apostle, my concern as a human being who has been there, done that, right, is that each time you leave and come back, you've now threatened the abuser's hold on you. What they know now is that you are capable of leaving. Before you leave the first time, they don't believe you going nowhere. They just don't believe it because they all that, and they got you under their thumb, and you're not going nowhere. You need them, and you're not going nowhere. So imagine their chagrin the first time you do that. They'll behave to lure you back in. Okay? They'll use what we call hoovering. Hoovering, right. Like after the vacuum cleaner, to suck you back in, make you feel like it's going to get better. I really love you. I'm nothing without you. Which may very well be true, that they ain't nothing without you. But they need to continue to experience that, okay? Let them adapt to that. Because when you come back, what they now know is that, okay, she or he left before. And then they start thinking back. And before they left, this is what they did, or this is what they said, or this is how they were acting. So now you have provided them with intelligence, okay, inside information about how to determine when you're about to do that. So when it escalates, because it will, the next time you need to leave, it's not going to be as clear cut as it was the last time. Number one, you're more beaten down now. You are more depressed now. You are more embarrassed now. So you have less to work with than you had the first time you got out of there. Right? And where did you go the last time? And how much did you share when you came back? Do they know what your plan is? Do they know who your support systems are? Because now what's going to probably happen is there'll be some veiled threats about whoever supported you in your first attempt to leave. All right? So many many domestic murder situations not only involve the victim, but whoever has been viewed as a support. This is why you going to your mama's house may or may not be a good idea. You may be jeopardizing mama and them, especially if you're not going to stay gone. If you're going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, whoever you're doing that with, you are putting them in jeopardy. Okay? And so then you'll have survivors say, well, my family has shut me out and they won't help me anymore and I can't count on them anymore. Here's my suggestion. If you are a family member, you are a friend, you set a boundary that doesn't put you at risk. If you being safe depends on that person doing the exact right thing, that's not a good plan. You need a different plan. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So, you need a plan that designates a safe place for them to go. And it doesn't need to be a place that the person is familiar with. It just doesn't. Okay, so you want to put some thought into this. Even if you plan on staying, I'm going to stand by my man, I'm going to stick with my woman, we took vows. That, okay, well, I'm sure unless your vows said, and when I get beat upside the head, I'm going to just shake it off. I don't think anybody said that standing in front of the preacher. I just don't think so. I don't think that's what you promised to do. Okay? I just don't think. And that till death do us, all of that, find me a scripture. But that one, no, ain't no scripture. Some man made that a long time ago. And everybody just been saying it ever since. Okay? So, what else do I want you to know? Okay, flying monkeys, I've already told you who they can be. Another person that they might try to recruit to target you is someone who never liked you in the first place. Somebody that never liked you. Hey, Lydia. Someone who never liked you in the first place. They could never stand you. Whether that's his or her mother, cousin, brother, uncle, co-worker. They never could stand you, right? And so he or she will feed them information to light fuel, to add fuel to that fire. That person will either verbally attack you, stalk you on social media, say negative things about you, try to undermine your character, or they will noticeably withdraw from you, making it clear that they're rejecting you. Okay, and all of that is designed to beat you down further. Okay, so we've talked about the gullible person. We've talked about the person with the rose-colored glasses. We've talked about the person who needs for you to be wrong because if you're right, then they're dead wrong about how they assess this person. They thought this was a wonderful man of God. They thought this was an amazing prophetess. They thought this was an excellent Sunday school teacher or an amazing deacon. But they're treating you, they're doing what? So if I have to accept that, then that means I'm a bad judge of character, right? And it's easier for us to believe that the other person is wrong than to believe that we missed it. Okay? Our own personal insecurities will keep us from helping when we should help, and our personal insecurities will make us a flying monkey. Our personal insecurities will make us a flying monkey. Remember now, a flying monkey, for those of you who are just coming on, please share. For those of you just coming on, is a minion to the witch in the Wizard of Oz, right? They just do the bidding of the witch. Whatever the witch wants, that's what they do. Okay? And that's what a flying monkey does in real life when you're talking about domestic violence. They either purposefully come for you, or they are inadvertently used to come for you because of their own insecurities and shortcomings that the abuser is taking advantage of. Listen, I know Patricia couldn't never stand you. So if I tell Patricia XYZ about you, and they may even accuse you of doing to them what they're doing to you. And they know who to approach. They're not going to approach anybody that they don't think they can pull the wool over their eyes. Okay? So, are you a flying monkey? Has someone come to you and said that they're being abused and mistreated, and the first thing out of your mouth was, well, that can't be true. They would never do that. What happened before that and what set them off? Does it matter? Does it matter what started it? It doesn't matter what started it. It doesn't matter. It's wrong. It's wrong. No matter who's doing it, it's wrong, right? So if that's your go-to thing is a scripture, right? I'm stepping on church folk toes now. Your go-to thing is a scripture. And you took your vows, and for better or for worse, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Listen, let me tell y'all something. The people who told us that, my generation, it didn't work for them. So I'm looking back trying to figure out what they told me that for. What did you tell me that for? It didn't work for you. It did not work for you. If working for you means living a life where you are abused and ground into the ground every day of your natural life, that's not working for me. And God has called me to greater than that. And it's not a wife's duty to submit, okay, to being mistreated. God does not, let me say this as an apostle in the Lord's church. God does not require that of you. He does not. He doesn't. He does not. And at the end of the day, you need to be able to believe him for whatever you ultimately choose. If you choose to stay in it, you need to be able to believe God to keep you in it. It's all about your faith. But I would submit this to you. If your faith was where it needed to be, you would understand that that's not how he intends for you to be treated. Okay, so we get there at our own pace. We don't all get there the same way. My primary concern, though, is if you are in a violent situation, a situation that is escalating, my primary concern is that you live long enough to get out. That you live long enough to get out. And let me say this. There's been a flurry in the news lately of children being killed or kidnapped, murdered. And then the backstory is that the parents are separated. And in almost 100% of the time, this is what you hear the surviving parents say. I knew they couldn't stand me. I knew they were angry with me, but I never thought that they would hurt the children. Let me help you with something. If they despise you, how do you think they really feel about anything that came out of your body? Anything that you helped create? Anything that you love more than anything else? If they can't stand you, how do they feel about something that you love with all of your heart? If the goal is to destroy you, the best way to do that is to let you live and destroy them. Destroy what you care about. Destroy your family. Kill your children. Assault your children. And cause you to have to live with that. Because you have introduced this person into your family tree. You understand what I'm saying? So we've got to take that's where those rose-colored glasses come. Look, if he or she can't stand you, I got 3 dogs. You can't watch nail one of them if you can't stand me. Because I don't know what you're doing to them when I'm not around. I'm pretty sure you're going to do something that I wouldn't approve of, right? So let's get real about this. And the other thing that I said I was going to touch on, because it just rubbed me the wrong way, right? I'm just being honest. If you are a single parent, stop leaving your babies with these people. Stop it. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance is not your babysitter. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Take care of your own babies. Take care of your own babies. If they cussing you out, you've only known them 5 minutes. What are you doing? What are you doing? You in the middle of a love bomb crusade. They buying you flowers and cologne and purses and shoes and buy your own lamps. Watch your own children. Watch your own children. You don't know these people. I'm going to tell you something else. There is a number. I'm going to post it later because I don't have it handy. But there's a registry now that you can find out if somebody got a history or not. Okay? You can find out. And for all of you diehard romantics, I would need for you to open your eyes and figure out who you are letting into your life. There are too many people out here that are not wrapped too tight. They are on assignment. They're on assignment to torpedo any plan you have in your life to be happy. They are on assignment to sabotage any chance that you have of walking in your destiny and your purpose as God intended. Okay? And if they can break you down enough, you won't even desire what God has for you. You won't even want it. You won't even want it. Okay? Are you a flying monkey? Are you a safe person that someone can come to and say, this is what I'm experiencing? And do you know what to say to them without making it worse, without causing further isolation, without inadvertently reinforcing what the abuser is telling them? Nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe you. Because they don't display that behavior around other people. They don't. They don't spend a whole lot of time around other people because they can't pretend that long, okay? But they tend to not display that behavior around other people. And if they do, they're not concerned about pushback from whoever they do it in front of. If they display that behavior in front of your cousin who's jealous of you anyway, they've already peeped that your cousin is jealous and therefore not a threat to their little plan. Matter of fact, they're going to probably recruit them to be a flying monkey. Are you a flying monkey? Are you protecting your own worldview, the way you need to view the world in order for you to feel safe? Is that putting someone else at jeopardy? If 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced domestic violence, there is just about zero chance that nobody in your circle, including you, have not experienced it or been exposed to it. Facts are facts. It is that prevalent. And as I said previously, there are studies that indicate that there's a higher incident of it in Christian homes than in non-Christian homes. What is wrong with that? How is that possible? Because we allow an environment to exist that not only hides it, but nurtures it. Nurtures it. So, if this Facebook Live causes you to really think about how you're interacting with people around you, how can you be a help and not a hindrance to someone who's having a problem? Okay, so maybe you're not as brazen as I am. Okay, it took me a while to figure out everybody's not like, okay, so let's just say you're not. You're calmer, you're less intense, or whatever. I'm not asking or suggesting that anyone step outside of a zone in which they feel safe and comfortable and secure. But what I am doing is I'm challenging you to see what can you do from your place of safety. I'm not asking anybody to put their life at risk. I've done it, but I wasn't scared. I'd already been through so much in my life. I wasn't worried about it. I have housed people in my own house that were fleeing. I had to pick them up with all that stuff in garbage bags on the street and all of that. I've done that more than once. And would probably do it again. Prayerfully, okay? With some boundaries in place, okay? So I'm not saying that everybody should open your home to it, because there is a great risk associated with it. But there is something that you can do. There's something that you can do. Something. Point them in the right direction. Give them the hotline number. Give them the web address to our blog. All right, get them in touch with me or another advocate. Okay, somebody that's not scared. But there is something that you can do besides say, I'm so sorry to hear that, I'm going to pray about it. We need to put hands and feet to our prayer. That's what we need to do. We are the Lord's hands and feet in the earth. That's how he gets things done here. He's not sprinkling fairy dust. He's using us. He's using us to affect change. He's using us to make a difference, right? And so this is what we must do, all right? Our Cash App, if you want to donate to us, our Cash App is Judah's Roar, and Roar is ROARRR, 3 R's, all right? And then PayPal is paypal.me/Judah's Roar, okay? That just popped into my head. I probably should tell people that. Anybody have any questions? Hi, Robert. I said, hey, Lydia, I miss you, actually. Anybody have any questions? Let me see what else I want to tell you before I let you go tonight. I told you that. Okay, here's some things I want to share. Some other ways that you might be able to determine that you are, in fact, a flying monkey. Okay, and if you are, repent and cut it out. You find yourself angry on behalf of someone else, telling you that their story, even though there's no proof of it. So you want to make sure before you get all emotional and caught up, you want to listen. What's going on? What are the facts? What are the details? Okay, and then connect them to someone that can help them. But there's nothing to be gained by you getting all emotional and caught up yourself. You increase the likelihood that you're going to do something that's unwise. Okay, so you're at risk of becoming one if you respond in that manner. Okay, poor boundaries. This is absolute much. You've got to have poor boundaries in order to be a flying monkey. You've got to have poor boundaries. There's no other real way to do that. You're over-invested in the problem, and their enemies become your enemy. Now, that's a challenging one. I don't struggle with it, and probably because of my military training and the fact that I'm a therapist, I don't struggle with that because, as I said, I can step outside of the role, drives people crazy. The fact that you're related to me does not make you right in this instance. If you're wrong, you're just wrong. Love you though. Okay. So if their enemies become your enemy and you find yourself, getting emotionally charged and upset and frustrated, you're not going to make a sound decision. You're not going to make a wise choice in that frame of mind. We talked about the fact that, I forgot to say this. A good flying monkey candidate is very religious, very rigid, very legalistic. And that's the person that will tell you, you got married, you stay married for life, you cover the faults of your partner, you don't expose them, you don't keep people out of your relationship, keep people out of your house, keep people out of your business. Which is usually code for hide all their mess. Okay, God does not require that of you. He does not require that of you. And if you do that, then you are complicit now in your own torture. You're complicit in your own torture if you do that, okay? A person who gossips is a good flying monkey because you can count on them to spread the rumors, right? True or otherwise. Someone that's a bully, a busybody. We already said poor boundaries. And we've already talked about having a vested interest in believing. So the fact that they defend the abuser is not even about the abuser. It's about not wanting to question their own ability to judge character accurately. Is that clear? If I'm more invested in believing that Ray Ray is a good person, or Samantha is an amazing parent, and she's an amazing partner, and she's an amazing woman, then I can't believe that she's cussing you out and chasing you with cast iron skillets and believe she's an amazing person at the same time. So I choose to believe that she's an amazing person. That means that story that you just told me about the cast iron skillet, you're exaggerating. That's what it means. Okay? When we do that, we are being self-absorbed. Okay? Any questions? The flying monkey is, in effect, a secondary supply. I already said that the victim is a supply for the abuser's ego, whether they're male or female. The flying monkey is a secondary source, a secondary supply. It's where the abuser gets encouragement that they haven't done anything wrong and that things can work out. What I've told people that have approached me, that maybe I've known both parties involved, is this. At the end of the day, if someone has decided that they don't want to be with you, you need to let them go. If they burned your eggs or not. If you hurt them or not. Doesn't matter. If they don't want you, let them go. Have some self-respect. If you can't, then it'll roll over into the stalking on social media, the stalking in real life, the reaching out to all the best friends and trying to paint them in a negative light, trying to change how you view them. Okay? So you want to be prayerful. You want to identify where your own boundaries are. How much of a help can you be to someone that's in a situation like this? Because again, I'm not asking you to go beyond a point where you are confident that you can be okay, because you're putting yourself at risk, and it's truly risky. It's truly risky. A really, really crazy abuser, an extreme narcissist, doesn't have a problem with hurting you too. Doesn't have a problem with hurting you first if they think that you are the reason that their partner is getting encouraged to leave. All right? Any questions? Hey, Kate. Any questions? We've got to do better, myself included. We've got to do better. We have to do a better job of paying attention to the people around us. We want to make sure that we are not putting people at risk by giving them horrible advice, like just stay there no matter what. The Lord will make a way somehow. Okay? He is making a way. He's making sure I do these Facebook Lives so that people know that it's okay to leave if you need to leave. Understand it's going to get worse. The domestic violence cycle is just that. It's a cycle. Okay, and so you have the verbal abuse, you have the nitpicking, the snide comments, the telling jokes that aren't funny, the humiliating folk in front of their company, in front of their family members at work or whatever. Then you had this big old argument, right? At the end of the argument, you feel like you were wrong, even though you weren't. Now you can't spend time with your friends, you can't spend time with your family. You can't do anything that's going to help you to see who they are. Let's just put it like that. Anything that's going to strengthen you, anything that's going to cause you to have greater self-respect, greater self-confidence, anything that's going to make you independent is a threat to their plan. And so they will attack that. And they will isolate you. And they will do it slowly over time. They're not going to tell you on the second date, I hate all your friends and your family. And oh, by the way, you should be home by a certain time. And we need to talk every night at 10 o'clock so I can know for sure that you're home. I'm going to put GPS on your phone so I know where you are all the time. Okay? And for those of you who are in kind of a sketchy situation, you pay attention to these things. Look at the apps that are on your phone. Take that thing apart and look at it. If you're being tracked, you want to know it. If you're being tracked, you want to know it. It's not unusual to have keystroke technology put on your phone, put on your laptop, put on your computer. It's not unusual to have GPS attached to your vehicle and you don't even know it. Okay? This is why you need a plan. And I would say that you need a plan, especially if you plan to stay. Especially if you plan to stay. If I'm your friend and I'm your support system and you want to stay and this is time number 5 and he's broken the orbital socket and you can't hear in one ear and you still have a bruise from the last time you got into a thing with him or her, how am I going to know that you are really in danger? We need a code word. We need a code phrase. We need something. You need to wear a certain blouse. Something. There needs to be something so that I know, not necessarily I need to come to your house, but that you really need help this time, okay? These are the things that you want to think about. You want to think about the documents that you need if you decide to leave. Social Security card, birth certificate, all these things you want certified copies of, and you want to keep them somewhere else. Why do I say that? Heated exchange, things escalate, a weapon is produced. You don't have time to pack a suitcase. And when you do get out, you still need those documents to start your life over, okay? So think of it as insurance. Develop a safety plan, and if you never need it, which is not likely, but if you never need it, just for the sake of argument, then you never need it. But if you do need it, then you have it. Okay? Are you a flying monkey? Has someone come to you and you have given them, in retrospect, advice that wasn't such good advice? Have you done that? Have you told them they should stay? They shouldn't talk about their partner that way? You can't believe it. You're shocked and appalled. Have those words escaped your lips? I can't believe that. Here's another thing that you don't want to say. Do you care about your children at all? Don't do that. That reinforces. See, sometimes the things that we say, we're working on the wrong side. We've gone over to the enemy's camp and we're reinforcing their argument. Don't say that. You can point out, you know what, this has an effect on the kids. And kids see and hear stuff. Let me tell you something. I know stuff that my mother think I don't know. She passed away 5 years ago not knowing that I knew a whole lot of stuff that I knew. Because I'd seen it and I'd heard it. I just didn't give her any indication. So you can't assume that your children don't know. Because 9 times out of 10 they do know. Okay? Don't say anything that's going to isolate them, make them feel like they have nowhere to go. If they've left 5, 6, 7 times back and forth, and you can't take it anymore, then you need to set up a different boundary. Because if you burn out on the front end, you can't help them at the tail end. Whenever they are ready, you won't be able to think clearly. You won't be able to respond appropriately because you are burnt out. You can only do so much. So let them know, you know what? I love you and I'm here for you. When you are ready, let me know. I just can't hear it until you just let me know when you're ready. But I can't do that every 2 days. I don't have the capacity to hear about this every 2 days. But when you are ready to make a move, let me know. Okay? You don't want to shut them down and shut them out because if something happens, if the worst thing happens, you don't want to have to live with, you know what, they reached out and maybe that time would have been the right time. Maybe that time would have been the best time. Okay? Any questions? Y'all don't have no questions. Make sure you share this. I'm going to leave you with the question, are you a flying monkey? If you have been, hopefully we've talked about some things that will help you to reassess your response when someone says that they are a victim of abuse. Okay? Please understand that men can be victims too. I think next week we'll talk about that, how men can be victims. And I may even know some men that would be willing to come on and talk about their experience. It's very difficult for them to do because it's embarrassing. And even when they do state it, they leap that hurdle and they say it to someone, it's often dismissed or they're ridiculed because of it. Okay? So we need to look at that too, because this is something that both men and women suffer. And it's wrong no matter who's doing it. It's wrong no matter who's doing it. So if you all don't have any questions, I think we've summarized what a flying monkey is. Okay? And hopefully we've given you information that will help you to gauge how you can improve your interaction with others. Visit our website. I'll ask Kelly to put all that up if she has it. Visit the blog. Visit the ministry website. Visit either one of my Facebook pages. Hey, Susan. Visit our Facebook page for information. You can inbox me. And the contest to name the closed private Facebook group is going to end on the 18th, which is tomorrow. We need a name. And the winner is going to get an Amazon gift card and a special, one-of-a-kind Jacqueline Marie handbag. And if you all don't get a suggestion, then I'm going to end up with a handbag and a gift card. I'm letting you know right now. Because we have to have a name for the group. I think it's important that we have a safe place for people to go. I especially want ministry leaders to join the group. We need to stop fronting and pretending. We need to just stop it. Can we just please stop? Can we just please stop? Because you know what? God is the God of what we're actually dealing with, not that we want people to think that we're dealing with. He is God of all of that. But we've got to acknowledge him. And I'm telling you, when I exited the situation that I was in the middle of that crazy rabbit hole experience, because I got tired of going down the rabbit hole. I'm just being honest. It's like, I am so much smarter than this. Why do these conversations always end up in crazy land? And once I identified what the progression was, I was able to navigate it. And I was able to hold on to my peace, because that's important. It's important. Okay? So, any questions before we go? Kelly, do you see any questions that I can't see? Anybody have any questions? Did anybody want to come on camera? Because, all I have to do is push a button and you can come on. We appreciate your support. We'll be back on next Thursday. We're going to talk about men and how they are also victims of domestic violence. And because we want them to have a safe place that they can go. And it doesn't make them any less of a man. It doesn't make them weak. It doesn't make them weak. Hey, Dexter. All right. Well, that is it. Inbox me a name for the group, or I'm going to be owning a purse. And then I'm going to come on the live with the purse so you can see the purse that somebody else could have got. That's what I'm going to do. Okay? All right. We love you. Keep us lifted. Pray for us. The enemy absolutely doesn't want these conversations to take place. And he does everything in his power to prevent them. And nothing pleases me more than blacken his eye. Okay? So I'm encouraged. And thank you all for the birthday wishes for this past week. God is amazing. The Lord is good to me, and I appreciate him, and I appreciate every one of you. All right? All right. We will see you on next Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Blessings to you.